size super simple recipes number 38. I haven't done one of these for a while, mostly because of the pandemic and the fact that my wife's home and I've been dealing with all the shit that goes with that. Today I'm going to do a gammon and leek bake, but we're going to do it as a savoury crumble. But instead of using the standard flour and butter mix, we're going to use some breadcrumbs. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to boil the gammon for about an hour and a half on a simmer, and then we'll prep the rest of the ingredients. So I'll get this on and then we'll come back. So our gammons are in the pan, and I'm cooking this in some good vegetable stock. There is a reason for that. We want just enough to cover the gammon. We're going to bring it up to a boil, and then we're going to simmer it gently for about an hour and a half. Just wait for that to bubble up. Last drop of that in. We're going to reserve the cooking liquor at the end and lift the gammons out. I want them to be really soft and almost breaking apart. So I reckon about an hour and a half should do it. About coming up to a boil. So I turn it down to the lowest setting, pop the lid on, come back in an hour and a half. Our gammon's been bubbling away gently for about an hour and a half. So we're going to lift it out. I can find a fork. But we want to reserve the cooking liquor. Oh, it's beautifully done. We're going to use some of that for the creamed leeks, and anything else we can use for soup. What I am going to do is just take the skin off the fat, because the fat will enhance the leeks when we actually put it all together, but we don't want the skin because we're not trying to make crackling or anything like that. So we're going to just slice that away. Same on this piece, and then we'll get on with the leeks once that's all done. We'll cut this into bite-sized chunks. That's the skin removed. We'll cut that into bite-sized chunks once it's cooled a bit, and then I'll come back and we'll get on with the next stage. So I've chopped the gammon into roughly bite-sized pieces. The fat's already started to render, so that should be perfect. So I'm going to put that to one side. And we need to prepare the leeks. So I've topped and tailed these already. So basically what you want to do is just split them down the middle. Take each piece and we're going to finely slice here. That's going to take me a couple of minutes, so I'll come back once I've completed that stage. All my leeks have now been cut. It may seem like a huge amount, but they'll cook down surprisingly quite a lot. So we'll come back when we're ready to get these on the go. Right, time to get started on the leeks. I'm going to use the same pan. I think we'll fit them all in with a bit of luck. I've got a big knob of butter which I'm slowly going to dissolve away in there. And I've got a little bit of olive oil standing by because we want to soften these, but we don't want to actually colour them. So I'm going to put some olive oil on the top to help them cook through. And as I say, these will cook down by quite a large amount, so we should be okay. There's a really good grind of salt and pepper. And then I'm going to get some olive oil into them as well. They start to cook down quite quickly, but I'll come back once they've softened, and you can see how much they've reduced then. As you can see, after just a few minutes they've reduced by more than half there in volume. So we're now going to take some of our cooking liquor from earlier, and we want to cover the leeks, and we're going to bring that up to a boil. And I've got a heaped teaspoon of corn flour just dissolved in a little bit of water, and what we want to do is thicken up that sauce now. turn the heat right down low, and we're going to add in our gammon. That'll have to be stirred quite gently because I don't want the chunks to break up. We can distribute this out afterwards once we've got it into a baking dish. And that's the basic filling. Wow, that's got a fantastic flavour. Nice salt from the gammon. So I'll give that a couple of minutes just to simmer through. So it's all warmed, and then we'll get on with our crumble topping. The next thing we want to do is to create our crumble base. Now I've got here some bread which isn't completely stale, and it certainly hasn't gone off. It's drying out around the edges though. You need enough slices to completely cover the top of your pie dish. And normal wisdom is with the flour and butter mix that you hand bind them, and I have seen this recipe where they'll use knobs of butter in the processor to actually make the breadcrumbs. But if you butter the slices first, it will actually sort of force the butter into the breadcrumbs, and it makes the whole thing just a little bit easier. So we'll butter all these slices, and then we'll get the blender out and we'll start making our breadcrumbs. I've buttered all my slices and I've broken them up a bit to help the blender get started. You want to blitz these now. Keep knocking the edges down to get the bread to feed in. And that's the first stage done. Into our breadcrumb mix, I'm going to put a good grind of salt, a good grind of black pepper, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of grated Italian cheese. You can use Parmigiano if you want to. This is Padano, which has got a slightly, it's not quite so strong a flavour, if I can get the pack out. We're going to add to that 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder. Give it a bit of a peak, and then I've got a teaspoon of dried mixed herbs and some grated cheddar, which we're also going to add in. And then we're going to give that another blitz. is our herby breadcrumby topping. I'll clear some space and then we'll come back and pop it on the top. So I've got our leek and gammon base, and we're going to start adding the breadcrumbs, which we want to sort of distribute evenly across the surface. Whoops, that wasn't very clever, Simon. And this will go into the oven about 180 to 200 for 15 or 20 minutes until the top has gone a nice golden brown, and hopefully the cheeses in there, besides adding a flavour, will begin to bind those into a nice crusty crumb top. Part of the reason for adding the corn flour into the leek mixture is to try to prevent all the breadcrumbs just simply soaking into the liquid, and it will sort of semi-set, so that when you cook that over, it should theoretically give you a nice golden top into it. Obviously if I overcook it, it'll all be black, but we'll see what happens. There we are, that's ready for the oven now. Okay, I'm going to stick this into a preheated oven, 180 to 200. We'll give it 20 minutes and we'll see what we get when it's cooked. Okay, our crumble has been in for 20 minutes. Let's see if I've burnt it. Oh. Perfect. Size, super simple, Gammon and Leek Crumble. Job done.